set of parents in April, and we had some extended discovery conversations. Those were just sit down meetings that went over the course of several days that with myself and our facilitator were a part of. Great information that we utilized with that, the capacity audit. The principals had completed a SWOT analysis for us in January. We had completed a communication audit back in the fall, so we had a good amount of information to work with. And I took 6 members of the discovery team, and we met late April for a couple of days and developed a draft of goals based on all of this information. We brought it back to the larger group in May, did some final edits, and over the summer have continued just doing some edits. You all have looked at them individually as well and offer some good advice back. So we bring to you what amounts to a slight change in our goal structure. We went from 3 goals to 4. Kept our mission statement, simplified it just a bit to more reflect what we're really doing, which is to strive to provide every student the opportunity to learn without limits. So I want to share with you briefly what the 4 goals are that this team worked on. And I do want to just emphasize again the fact that it was a really collaborative effort. What you do not want me to bring to you is just my plan or just administrator plans, but a plan that is bought into by a lot of stakeholders. And I think we had a really good process to get there. So first goal that we have with is going to be student experience. Let's forward that one up. Yeah. Oh, sorry. That was an important one too. Our values. We had a set of beliefs that we had utilized in our last strategic plan, actually 2 strategic plans passed. But this year we wanted to more reflect what we do in our schools, which is an emphasis on our core values and what we believe in. And we thought this was a great place to start. And the word that's most used in our community when used to describe our schools is excellence. That came out of the communication audit we did back in the fall. And that's what our parents say is mostly what comes to mind. And so we think that's an important value for us, that we're committed to learning and engagement. Character is important. We think that's equally important to achievement, that we embody characteristics such as integrity and respect. We think working together with our community and families is extremely important, and we value that, and we value safety. I think that goes without saying. So these core values really are the supporting structure for the goals that we have. So our first goal is student experience, and you can read these for yourself, but I won't get into the specifics of each of them, but the idea of the strategic plan is that we have a goal statement, and that's what's in red. And then we try to project what the vision of the goal would be if it takes place. We want to try to create some imagery of what things look like in our system if we're able to carry out this goal. So the first student experience goal is around making sure excellence, curiosity, and resilience drive academic achievement and personal growth. And you can see the picture of success that goes with that. Our second goal is employee engagement. And oftentimes you hear engagement used when talking about students, but we thought it was really important that we emphasize that engagement in the workplace is extremely important. And we want to make sure that all of our employees are bought into that culture of elite professionalism and collaboration. We feel like if we can do these 2 things well, then many other things take care of themselves. You can see the picture of success, the image of what we think is important if this is in place. What our workplace will look like. Our third goal is family and community partnerships. And I do think it's important to emphasize that trust and shared commitment is really important. We are in a day and age where, unfortunately, there is a notion to kind of start with organizations at a place of distrust. And I don't believe that's the case in our community, but we want to always have the trust of our community and parents. So we think that's really important and should continue to be a goal, and that we have a shared commitment of what's important in our schools. Our fourth goal is stewardship and support. This is also, I think, has come from a lot of information just over this past year and recent years, that we make sure that there's trust in how we use the resources in which we have been given, how we invest the dollars that our community gives to our schools, and that we do it in an effective way. And so we think that goal is important to state, and we want to demonstrate to our community that what they're doing to support our schools, which is really unparalleled, is being put to good use, and the investment's going to help our students. So we went through the process and pulled these 4 goals together. And as I said, I've been just doing some fine tuning over the last couple of months with them. And I bring them to you this evening. And this document also includes an acknowledgement of all the members of the team. Many of them are sitting back here from the school system, and lots of others in our community that were a part of this process. So I'll answer questions you got before you take the vote.
Dr. Freeman, the strategic plan goals, it's all an effort to just where Vestavia is, where we have been, but it's not to rest on our laurels. It's the continuous improvement, that striving for excellence, which we're so accustomed to here. And just we appreciate you laying out the vision and the measures that we hope to obtain.
I'll just share, I think a lot of the people that participated that aren't faculty or staff of the school system really appreciated being heard.
Yeah.
I think that the small groups, people really genuinely felt like their input was noted. And whether those changes were implemented or not, that process is what it is, but they just appreciated having, I think, a space. And I think it opened up conversation for future planning as well. So I just really appreciated the process and just hearing so much valuable feedback from our community.
All right, all in favor of the strategic plan and goals?
Aye.
I think board members, we will get to work on this. We've got a lot of marketing materials that we put together, and some more news to come about that. All right, item B, I recommend the board approve the supplement schedule for the 25-26 school year.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the 2025-2026 supplemental schedule. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second. I want to note that the supplement schedule typically will amount to about 2% of our budget. And it includes things related to arts, athletics, academic competition. It's a myriad of supplements that are a part of the schedule. And it accounts for a small amount, but I would tell you the number of students that participate in these programs are enormous. And so it adds great value to our overall goal for a student experience. So I just want to note that.
All in favor of the 2025-2026 supplemental schedule?
Aye.
Item C, I recommend the board approve the renewal of the supplement contract for Robert Evans.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for the renewal of the supplemental contract for Robert Evans. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Board members, Coach Evans is our head football coach and has been with us for 3 years, and I think done a fantastic job. This is unique in that most of our supplements are on the schedule, but we do a contract with a football coach, which is fairly consistent that you'll find in systems. We try to do a very fair, comparable look at the earnings and supplements to make sure they're competitive with other schools. And football does distinguish itself. It typically pays a much different rate than other sports for a lot of different reasons, one of which is the number of kids and the program, the business, the financial pieces of it that go into it. That being said, all of our coaches, all of our sponsors are valuable, but this one is set aside just to be consistent what we think is the best practice. And we evaluated this supplement looking at all the other systems in our region area play to make sure we were being comparable, and we're certainly not on the top side of this or the bottom. I think we're about in the middle, but I think it's certainly worthwhile, the work that Coach Evans doing.
All in favor of the supplemental contract for Robert Evans?
Aye.
Board members, I recommend to approve the revision to Board Policy 1.1 governing principals, preface definitions.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the revision to Board Policy 1.1 regarding principals. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second. This is just a modification to be consistent with the new strategic plan mission.
Okay, all in favor of the revision to Board Policy 1.1?
Aye.
Item E, I recommend the board approve the facility rental fee schedule.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for the approval of the facility rental fee schedule. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Board members, I want to let you know that Dr. Aarondahl, I asked him when he started with us in the board office last fall to look at several things. This was one of them. The facility rental process is quite expensive. How much our facilities are used or being asked to be used by the community and those outside the community. So this is one step in the process. So maybe just Ty, if you just brief them on what you're doing with this fee schedule.
Yes, so we're making some changes to the process, but as far as fees go, we did a survey with our similar school districts, and they are in line with the other districts. So we didn't really change the hourly rates attached to the spaces. Those were fair, we felt like, and in line with other districts. But with big groups that come in and use our facilities, we found that we sometimes could potentially take a loss on those. And so we have added a percentage surcharge based on the size of the groups, so it's tiered. And we feel like that'll be fair to these small groups that use our district. I mean, as well as the large groups allow us to maybe just make sure we're covering all of those hidden costs like utilities, paper products, that sort of thing. So we do feel like this will work very well and be kind of fair to everyone. We realize those things, talk about being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars, so that's what we want to do, so.
Thanks. Facility rental, just so you know, is separate from the shared spaces agreement we have with the Park and Rec Board. We share facilities, there are not charges involved, so this is separate from that. But we have a good bit of interest in the use of our buildings. Our principals, I think, would tell you.
Board members, all in favor of the facility rental fee schedule?
Aye.
Item F, I recommend the board approve the license agreement with MM Marketing LLC.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the license agreement with MM Marketing LLC. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
These three items coming up are just a continuation of work we've been doing to take care of our trademark branding, and this is just the next three in line. This will bring us to how many agreements?
22.
22. Okay. Very good.
All right. Board members, do I hear approval for the license agreement with MM Marketing LLC?
All right, item G, recommend the board approve the license agreement with Park Hills Creative LLC.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for the license agreement with Park Hills Creative LLC. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item H, I recommend the board approve the license agreement with Wagner's Tuscaloosa LLC, doing business as Wagner's Team Alabama.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for the license agreement with Wagner's Tuscaloosa LLC, doing business as Wagner's Team Alabama. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
These 2 years.
All right. Board members, we received a survey results from the Alabama Association of School Boards. We've had a chance to go through those and just like to share some of the highlights of the results of the surveys that came back. Really pleased. I mean, we have the superintendent of the year sitting right next to me, and as expected, the results of the survey came back far exceeding expectations, and the job Todd's doing, the whole board's doing, and Courtney's doing is just couldn't be more pleased, and the future looks so bright, and got a lot of things to do this year. It's gonna be a great year, and these are just some of the things we'll go through that we've been pleased with, and we're gonna continue to be pleased with moving forward. So Whit, if you could, the rating scale on these survey was demonstrates excellence, that's number 4. I guess it's a scale out of 4. and then exceeds expectations with a 3, meets expectations with a 2, and needs improvement with a 1. So the numbers we will see and we've reviewed, they're out of a scale of 4. So if we move to, I guess, page 5, it's the different ratings. And this is pertaining to Todd in particular, and it's his evaluation. And these are the averages of all of our, I guess, surveys we turned in. And so as you can see, it's not perfect. We got to give you a little room to grow, Todd, but it's just absolutely what we expect, but more importantly, just what we're so grateful to have in our community as far as these different categories. I'll note here that it just, all of these areas that is provided, there's, different people would have different, I guess, thinking as far as one's more important than the other. But collectively, they're all important. And so to have the ratings where we come together and we help provide the policy for the city schools is just a gem that we get to work alongside and have the same values, and communication's key. And I think we can all, I guess, say, and I don't mean to speak for everybody, but I will in saying we really appreciate it. That when issues come up, we're told about them, and a lot of times if Todd's first told about them, then we hear it and immediately, and so we're really thankful for that, and that's a key to, we all come from different organizations, and that's a key in any organization, and we're so grateful that we have that with you here. Does anyone, board members, have anything to say about any of those, just looking at it?
And I'll chime in. We're obviously by those scores can see that we're very blessed to have a leader like Todd and Courtney kind of just giving us clarity, leadership. I think everyone, not just the board, but everyone that's employed by the system can kind of echo that. So I would say that we're extremely lucky to have you.
And if we move through, there's our, I guess, what we survey, and then there's direct reports as well. And so there again, the overall average exceeding expectations from the direct reports is an excellent score that we can continue to improve on, but it just shows that we're meeting expectations and moving through that. The averages just compared are what we've gone over, 3.9, 3.3. And then the surveys also included Courtney Brown, and she's the Chief School Financial Officer, and just what Kyle said, we couldn't be more pleased with having this is, I don't know, one of the things that makes Vestavia so great is we're blessed with the resources to have the school system we have, and with Courtney making sure we stay in check with those. And she works hand in hand with all the schools, with all the bookkeepers at the schools. And I'm not an accounting guy, but that's a tedious process. And she does such a wonderful job getting the information we need. And it's just not only getting the information, but then conveying the information succinctly so we can understand. And I know we have board members who have that expertise as well. And so to be able to go through it and realize we're on solid footing financially is really grateful for. So thank you. Same rating scales. When you see these numbers, they're out of 4 quote Courtney, so for the board results, it's similar to Todd, where Courtney has a 3.9 out of 4 for her score. And then we just go through the ratings by category on page 11 there. And the superintendent results of the evaluation, or the overall rating was 3.8 out of 4. And you go through the different categories to understand if the role is spot on, and then to the different areas where she's exceeds expectations. And so then with the peer results, the overall rating 2.7, there again, that's, meeting expectations with the different bookkeepers we have at the schools, and just getting the information, and we just encourage to it's a job that we value, and we really appreciate your hard work. We do. Does anyone else have anything to say?
I'll add what I said earlier. Courtney, you do a good job of communicating all this. I know not everybody wants to get bogged down in the numbers, but, I'll echo, your work last year, putting in the ClearGov information. I mean, every time I go to look at that, just the way it breaks it down, I mean, you do a great job with us, but to take those numbers to the community in a way that people can understand it, when so many people are asking questions, and especially nowadays question what goes on, I think that's been a massive addition, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll just add, you've always responded super quickly to me. I am a numbers person, so every time I think I'm going to stump you on something, I don't. But you're always so quick to respond, and every single detail I've ever asked, right off the top of your head. And I think sometimes, thinking about people that maybe direct report to you, when you work in a role that's so high level, sometimes, the people that you're working with aren't involved in all the granular details either, because they roll up to you and you're taking that responsibility. But that doesn't mean you're not a great leader or mentor to them. I think similar to the community, not everybody wants to take the time to get into those finite details. But you have been a huge resource to me personally, I know to everybody else on the board, and you really are such a huge key instrument to this organization. So we do very much appreciate you.
Thank you for the most awkward 10 minutes.
Hey, I'm doing this.
You did good.
It's great to have people talk about you. Come this right here.
I was gonna bring in balloons, but I thought I was gonna.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks, I appreciate it, and I certainly agree with you about Courtney and the work she does, and steered a shift the last several years that we've had to be really careful with our finances and gotten ourselves in a better position, and a lot of goals remain that we want to put in place, but it takes somebody that really understands numbers to make that happen. So very well done, and she's also a really good person, and that means more to me than the numbers part. So, all right. Moving on, I would recommend under item 7 that the board approve the personnel items as submitted.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation to approve the personnel items as submitted. Do I hear a motion? So do I hear a second?
Second?
Board members, if I may comment before you vote on this, is I did look at the last several year trends. I've tried to do that each year in terms of hiring. We had 68 or so new teachers today. That's about steady. We've had some dips where it's been lower years, but since COVID, it's been numbering in the 60s typically. And some schools sometimes are a little higher than others. At this point, though, we're really close to being full. There's always movement in July, and they're dealing with some even this afternoon, some surprises that come along. But that's part of it. And we do have a call meeting, I know August 1st, to try to finalize things, but principals are working real hard to get there, and I know we're close. So a couple more weeks and we'll have them all ready for you.
Board members, all in favor of the recommendation to approve the recommended personnel items?
Aye.
I want to finish up the evening with just one follow-up from the spring. I was in the spring asking you to just be aware of the numbers in our elementary schools, and particularly at East and the growth that we had seen at East the last couple of years. And I wanted to circle back with you on that because that does from time to time generate some buzz in the community, particularly when you may be thinking about rezoning. But I wanted to show you some numbers. You got this for me?
I don't remember the number. So sorry.
You remember I sent to you? That little chart I sent to you, maybe. I can do this off the cuff though. Here's our current counts in elementary grades. Got 412 at Cava Heights. That's holding pretty steady from last year. We got 644 at Dolly Ridge, and that's up just a little bit from actually the last 2 years. Vestavia Hills East is at 802 right now. Vestavia Hills Liberty Park's at 540, and West is at 663. Our demography that we looked at last spring suggests that over the next decade, we do see some marginal decrease in enrollment, and that is holding steady. That is happening. We at the high school have our largest classes we're going to have, at least for the foreseeable future. So after this year, I can't say parking will get better, but the number of bodies starts lessening a little bit. These aren't significant decreases, but just keeping with what our state, national, and international trends, the population will drop just a bit. There are fewer children being born into homes, and you know all the demographic information. The anomaly this past year is that the anomaly this past year has been at East, and if you take a look at this first grade at East BHEE, that first grade is 156. I think we had 162 last year in kindergarten. That's 156 now. That cohort is now 156. And right now we're at about 144 at East. If you look across the board, what we would like to do is to get those enrollment numbers more in the 120s. And so I say that to tell you that we're right now really close in capacity at East. We have a couple of options left for us to be creative if we have to. Next school year, we don't have any plans for rezoning this year. And what I suggest that we do is in the spring, we look again at enrollment and determine what the upcoming kindergarten class would look like. If we continue on the trajectory of 145, 150 kids, it would be hard for us to maintain those numbers. And we do have some opportunities at Dolly Ridge and West, especially that we could change some zones, but we don't have a near-term need for it. We're cozy, but we want to hold as best we can because nobody really likes the notion of rezoning. The five of you do not, I do not, neither does the community, but we'll hold as long as we can and be optimistic that what we'll see is that the spike and it will get back to what will be more average numbers. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about that. I wanted to point out to you while we're looking at this, one of the important goals in our budgeting process is that we maintain optimal class sizes. And in kindergarten, that usually is 13 to 16 students. In grades 1 through 3, that's usually 16 to 19 students. And we look to keep 20 to 23 in grades 4 and 5. And every school's got a few little nuances. They're not all just perfect, but we work really hard to keep those numbers there. And I think they're exceptional class sizes. Our principals advocate strongly to make sure those numbers stay there. And we've tried to address even recently just some numbers to make sure we've got the appropriate staffing. So I'm real pleased with what that looks like for our K-5 students. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Thank you. I know since last meeting, someone's got a question, so I appreciate you providing that for us. That concludes our agenda, and we have now moved to the public comment section. Is there anyone here who would like to make public comment tonight? All right, with that being said, I move that this board meeting concludes. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Now you can bear
Now I can make it. It is concluded.